mind you now, he wasn't the only one, you know what I mean? I'm not sitting here singling him out. He wasn't the only one. Like I said, man, the US was involved in more wars in the 90s all around the world than in the early 2000s when Bush was president. You know what I mean? The United States was involved in more wars, armaments-wise, when Clinton was president than when Bush and Obama was president combined. America wasn't in a war at all when Obama was president. Trust me. We just had a puny man child, not man, a puny czar in Russia who was manipulating shit. You know what I mean? Gaddafi was an evil fucker, man. I'm sorry if you have admiration for such human beings. Like I can't. You know what I mean? That man had such a big hand in so many of the civil wars in West Africa in the 80s and 90s. Where the fuck you think all those weapons were coming from? Come on, man. Like, I'm just saying, man. So, but that's what I'm saying. People have, I know a lot of Sierra Leoneans. I know this one pharmacist, you know what I mean? This dude's smart as fuck. This dude, his family just got into the pharmacy business. They were able to open up a business out here and all that, you know what I mean? Like, it's great. This man was born here, you know what I mean? He wasn't, but his family is from West Africa, you know what I mean? Not from Sierra Leone, but from another West African nation, you know what I mean? Like, I heard this man speak one day with somebody else who was from Sierra Leone sitting there. We was in the break room, you know what I mean? We was in the break room at work, we were talking. The amount of admiration they had for Gaddafi and how much animosity they had tinged towards Obama and his administration for what supposedly he did against Gaddafi. Man, Gaddafi was an evil fucking ass. Go ahead with that, man. I can have that. Mr. President, thank you. That was a good ass motherfucking job. You got Gaddafi and Bin Laden, man. Psst. Bush got Saddam. You got Gaddafi and Bin Laden. Go ahead. Go ahead. I digress though, man. I just saw that the guy's name and I just, you know what I mean? Like, that man was responsible for so much death in West Africa, yo. I don't care what anybody say. Gaddafi had so many weapon deals. This new weapons deals that fucking Trump bitching about, talking about, oh, Saudi Arabia has ordered this amount of billions, or man, he is a goddamn liar. If any reporter, any journalist out there knows, David Sanger, Olia, if anyone knows the real numbers for weapons sales and weapons orders, this Saudi Arabia deal is toilet paper in the grand scheme of things, man. Go ahead, man. Trump is a bloviated dumbass. So I'm not even gonna pay attention to that shit. All I know is Gaddafi right there, man. Obama taking him out. That was awesome. Gaddafi was an evil fucker. Fuck that ass. Yeah, man. We ain't got time for that. We ain't got time for no hitting shit, man. Them days should be gone. The world ain't got time for that no more. Assad is next. You are next. Like, that guy literally saw his college students, who he's supposed to be leader of, protesting for simple basic rights, to be able to do something that I'm like, what I'm doing right now. That's all these young men and women wanted. That's all they wanted 7 years ago, man. That's all they wanted 7 years ago. To be able to do something that I'm doing right now. You know what I mean? Like, I feel them. As somebody who come from the situation they're in, I feel them on that. So I can understand it because I've been able to express myself since December the 1st of 1998, the day I immigrated to this country. You know what I mean? The same day in 1955 when Rosa Parks decided she was done having to walk those 3-4 extra steps to the back of the bus after standing on her feet for about 8-9 hours, for about maybe 40% less than what you're making, and you can just come up here. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. What are whiteness? Are you still around? If you're still around? If Black America ain't got to go vote yet to make sure that whiteness is absolute, you know what I mean? White ain't even a fucking color, man. It's the absence of all color. How the fuck can it be a color if it's the absence of all color? We find that in many of these oppressed societies, Islamists provided the most potent opposition, particularly where the Muslim Brotherhood, accustomed to decades of persecution, had the organizing skills and cunning to dominate the politics of the revolution. If not in the first sudden explosion of exuberant youthful rebellion, then in the complex maneuvering and militancy that followed. Besides many of the administration's decisions concerning these revolutions, but I recognize that what a daunting array of challenges the Arab Spring presented to American policymakers. I thought it right to support the protests and a surge of peaceful transition of power and the creation of new political processes that welcome the participation of all parties committed to democratic principle and the rule of law. I thought that welcome would have to include parties that were expressly Islamists if their democratic commitment was not just to one or two free elections, or however many it took for them to come to power, and their commitment to justice applied the protections of the law equally to all. Middle Eastern societies misruled and corrupted decade after decade, where political, religious, and personal differences are often violently persecuted, have pathologies that aren't easily tamed. But I don't believe there is any way to get rid of them other than to open these societies to democratic political habits that in time lead to a broader distribution of economic opportunity, equal justice, and the government's accountability to the governed. Joe Lieberman and I made plans to travel to the Middle East in February of 2011. We would meet in Tunisia before traveling on to Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, and finally to Egypt. We arrived on different flights and rendezvous at a cemetery on the Mediterranean to pay our respect to the Americans killed in North Africa in World War II. It is a beautiful and serene place, one of the most beautiful of the many plots of land in all the far-flung foreign locations where Americans rest who gave their lives for their country and someone else's. Following Ben Ali's exile, Tunisia entered a protracted period of political uncertainty. Then the Prime Minister Mohamed Ghannouchi had formed a caretaker government with holdovers from Ben Ali's party as well as opposition representative, though no one from Ennahda, the main Islamist party, which had been banned by Ben Ali, had been included. We met with the Prime Minister and his defense minister. This will this would both be out of they would both be out of office the next week. Protest rallies had continued throughout the country and had intensified in recent days. Ghanouchi was forced to resign on February 27, 2011. The most interesting exchange we had were with civil society activists, mostly young idealists who were guiding the revolution on the streets and online. We had dinner with them at the ambassador's residence. To an old geezer, they seemed impossibly young and energetic, and to an old cynic, very self-assured. But they fascinated me. We told them we admired their courage and we hoped they might be the start of the Arab world's transformation. I sensed that their ambition were not quite that grand. They wanted an accountable government and economic opportunities, but of such desires sweeping revolutions can be made. But of such desires sweeping revolutions can be made. Accountable governments and economic opportunities. Hey yo, I just thought about something hella hilarious, right? So I just went and got this downstairs and it is hella cold. I say it is nice and cold, beautifully cold. Like the average Sierra Leonean right now would do anything for a drink that cold right now. You know what I mean? So yeah, I know what I'm talking about. It's cold. So I thought about it. I'm like, damn, that's not too good for me. And I thought about one of my coworkers one day told me, and she was asking for some water or something. It was something we was talking about, and it was about drinking water, cold water. The human body is not supposed to drink beverages cold or water cold anyway. So, and guess what her name is? Tunisia. What did my mother? I call her Egypt though. Every time I see her, I say, what's up, Egypt? She works in another department, but we work in the same building. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so funny to talk about Tunisia. She has some smart, awesome ass parents. We had dinner with them. The most interesting exchanges we had were with civil society activists, mostly young idealists who were guiding the revolution on the streets and online. We had dinner with them at the ambassador's residence. To an old geezer, they seemed impossibly young and energetic, and to an old geezer, very self-assured. But they fascinated me. We told them we admired their courage and we hoped they might be the start of the Arab world's transformation. I sensed that their ambitions weren't quite that grand. They wanted an accountable government and economic opportunities, But of such desires, sweeping revolutions can be made. They explained how they had used social media to communicate and coordinate their protests. The internet was heavily censored by Ben Ali's government, but not curiously Facebook. You know, when I was in Freetown in 2013 or 14, mainly 2013, I couldn't access Pandora. I couldn't, not from Sierra Leone. I don't know, maybe it's changed now, but back then I couldn't. You know what I mean?
At my heaviest, I was 228 pounds. I knew I had to make a change.
They explained how they had used social media to communicate and coordinate their protests. The internet was heavily censored by Benelux government, but not curiously Facebook, which became their main communication platform. I asked what assistance we could provide them and if there was anyone in the US they wanted to speak to that we might be able to connect them with. It was unanimous. Mark Zuckerberg was their man. If it wasn't for Facebook, one of them said, there would have been no revolution. They wanted to invite Zuckerberg to come to Tunisia and ask me to intercede on their behalf. I told them I tried to get in touch with him when I was back in the States. I did too. I put in a call to him right after I returned and told him that he was a hero to a group of extraordinary kids who were trying to change the Middle East and were using his creation to do it. They wanted very much for him to come to Tunis, and I offered to put him in touch with some of them if he was so inclined. Alas, he didn't appear to be, and I didn't hear from him again. Of course he wasn't. I'm trying to tell you, Mark Zuckerberg should shut down Facebook for like 2 months. Get the Russians out. Let Americans run and scamper and just pick up books for like maybe 1 month out of that 2 month span or 45 days out of that 60-day span, you know, and then get it back on a nice clean slate. I had some roommates last year around this time who, just because you're not gonna come at me trying to show off when you ain't doing shit with your life, you know what I mean? You're a grown ass man talking about this and that. You wanna be a rapper, you wanna be a singer. You spending all this time in the studio trying this and that, but you can't even hold on a job that can even get you 20 hours a week. I'm just saying, fuck out of here, I ain't trying to hear that. But you ain't gonna get no cigarette from me. No, I'm not gonna sell it to you even if you have the money. Like, go buy your own pack. Go get a job and go buy your own fucking pack. You know what I mean? You're not gonna give me $1 to hit this blunt. No. Go get your own tree. I'm just saying. Be a man for all that. And then the same ones who are saying there and look at the hard working woman talk about you be this, you this, and you are like, but I digress though. You know what I mean? And they used to do where they get, they don't, and they hated me for that. And by proxy, whenever I was out enjoying the weather, just reading, smoking or something, and I ain't passing it, they will come turn the music on. They will come turn their music on real loud next to me, thinking that's what they have me stop and go. I could sit in the middle of a concert and read a book and take in everything what I'm reading. I'm just saying. I have sat in bars and read and be good. The last time I got into a real true fight that I won, I've lost like 2 fights after this fight I'm talking about. This was in New York. I whooped this little white boy ass because he fucked with my book. He picked up my book and dropped it on the floor like it was nothing, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I digress though. So, you can listen to music and read now. Preferably, everybody keep telling me about freaking reading books on tablets and shit. Like I can't get into that. I'm sorry, I can't. Those things have distractions, you know what I mean? Everybody say all this other, but it's still something that's not a physical thing to be held. You know what I mean? You know. But you probably thinking, shut your dumb ass up and just read what you're gonna read. But I'm sorry. I be smoking some bum ass ganja, yo. I don't even know. I should be on that, yeah. They wanted very much for him to come to Tunisia, and I offered to put him in touch with some of them if he was so inclined. Alas, he didn't appear to be, and I didn't hear from him again. The most fascinating encounter we had was with a Tunisian businessman, Monha Ben Ayed, whom we had been advised was one of the shrewdest, best connected people in the country. He did have an insightful view, given the confusing scene it appeared to us of where Tunisia was headed. A period of instability will continue until a new constitution was drafted, but he believed the prospects were good for Tunisia's successful transition to a modern representative democracy as long as the economy, along with the political system, was open to ordinary Tunisians. Economic reforms were essential to ensuring the success of political reforms. He also seemed rather such that another would figure prominently in that transition and would not, as some in the West feared, subvert it. This is what happened. Another was sort of the Tunisian chapter of the Muslim Brotherhood, but it was more committed to the conviction that democracy and Islam are compatible. Yes, it is. Yes. Yes, it is. I, for all y'all fake racistly tinged American historians out there who think y'all knew Thomas Jefferson, but y'all really didn't. Thomas Jefferson studied the Quran and believed that Islam and democracy were so much more similar, but he couldn't admit to it. He couldn't. He knew where he was from. He knew who he was. He knew what the base was. He knew what it was then. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, man. Like, but let's see now what happens after this. Let's see what happens after this. I hope that first episode sucks a lot of, you know what I mean? And my timing and positioning of the flag has no bearing on me having any animosity towards America. I'm just signifying that the flag, you know, when the flag is turned upside down, that means America is in distress. Yeah, America is in distress right now with this Trumpite, Republican, you know, dumbass shit is going on in the federal government. I'm not talking about just in the White House. I'm talking about in Congress. You gotta go vote, man. If you believe in what John McCain was about, if you believe in what John McCain was about, yo, if you truly believe in what John McCain was about, you gotta go vote. And for the first time, John McCain will probably smile at you from the grave if you do not vote for the Republican Party this time. I swear to God, John McCain will probably agree with this. Megan, please tell me I'm right. In this day and age, even in your father's love of what the Republican Party was truly about, the party of Lincoln, that party of Lincoln that your father was the last embodiment of that. Tell me your father wouldn't want to vote for the Democratic Party this season. So I tell you, man. If John McCain was alive and kicking right now, he would be campaigning for the Democratic Party. I so wish he was alive right now, but you know what? The recordings I did when I was planning, which I procrastinated on, that I got rid of. But hey, the Russians can definitely hack my shit. My shit is not protected at all. Hey, I probably have deleted over my lifetime in America though, since I had my first email, academyboy45@hotmail.com. You know what I mean? Since I had that first email, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I've probably deleted about maybe 4.7 million emails. So if y'all can find all of that, go ahead. Man, y'all will help me out. You wouldn't even know. You provide me with some memories for me to write that book. I'm telling you, it's gonna be so awesome, yo. And connected with life event like I told you, man. We've been living in historical times since 2011. The world changed that day. Everything that has come after it can be directly correlated to that day. You know what I mean? But I digress though. He also seemed rather sure that another will figure prominently in that transition and would not, as some in the West feared, subvert it. That is what happened. Another was sort of the Tunisian chapter of the Muslim Brotherhood, but it is more committed to the conviction that democracy and Islam are compatible. Another won the most seats in parliamentary elections in October, though not an outright majority, and governed in a coalition with secular parties. A long-time dissident who'd been living in exile. Hey, mother, please, man, I'm begging you, man. I know there's a lot of tribalism, nepotism in our politics in Africa, especially Sierra Leone. Historically, we've had that. But remember the idealistic changes you guys wanted to implement in the 90s with MPRC? You know what I mean? Please work with APC people, man. Work with and the other parties people. I'm not remembering the other parties off the top of my head, but I know those are two big parties, APC and SLPP. You know what I mean? Work with each other, man, for real. Cause like the population of Africa, as you know, 54% of the population of Africa is under the age of 18. Those are hearts and minds. Hearts and minds have to be changed, man. There's a force going on. Like, it is imperative that you realize where I'm coming from with this, because your generation of men literally started an opportunity, a movement in the 90s, but couldn't finish it then. Now you have the opportunity to continue what you started in the right way with the right format from a position of power. But you have to recognize that true democracy provides for checks on those powers that you have at your disposal. You know what I mean? Compromises have to be made. It cannot just be one-sided all the time. It's been one-sided for too long in the grand scheme of things with the dominance of white supremacy, you know what I mean, and black inferiority worldwide for the last 2-3 millennia. But I digress, so I just had to say I had that thought because I truly believe that. I'm trying to tell you, man, mother, man. Like the provinces, we got to turn those provinces into mini cities over the next 15, 20 years. Like little and businesses have to be the ones that do it. We can make things that we can sell around the world in Sierra Leone. We can make things in Sierra Leone and every other country in Africa and actually pay people a living wage while people are getting people educated. Businesses can do it, but they just choose not to because government policy is all bribery. It's all people can get away with shit because you can just pay somebody off real quick. I'm just saying, man, like that shit ain't right. Just saying. It happens here too. Like I get it. Consulting fees, it happens everywhere. It happens all over the world, but if it happens and good is being done for people in the community, I don't know. Maybe that's a backwards cockamamie white influence justification, but another one, the most sitting parliamentary elections in October. I can't find this thing for shit. A long-time dissident who'd been living in exile, Monsef Mazuki was selected president in December and he was appointed the leader of another Hamadi Jebali prime minister. Some months before the election, Jebali came to Washington under the auspices of an organization that promoted democratic norms in Islamist political movement and met with Joe and me to assure us of his party's commitment to democracy. Another is everything that the Democratic Internationalists ask of religious parties. They reject Sharia law and accept the secular character of government, which alienated the most militant Islamists in Tunisia. Although analogies to American political models aren't really apt, if we explain another's issue positioning using our references, we will probably describe them as socially centrist and economically liberal. The next time we saw Mr. Ayed on a subsequent visit to Tunisia in 2012, he was a senior advisor to Prime Minister Jebali. Yo, I don't know what it is. I don't know if this is a sign from God or what it is. If this is a medical condition that's going to be a symptom of something later in life. But my tongue right now, my tongue right now is quietly feeling like freaking like something is biting on it, like there's a ripple going through. It was vibrating. It just stopped though. As soon as I'm talking about it, I don't think I bit it. I don't know what I just said. Who, like, what it is, I don't know what I just said, but that shit seems like it's gonna come back and bite me in the ass. I hope it don't. Whatever it is, whoever it is, please, I'm begging y'all. Like, I'm just saying, man, if you get where I'm coming from with it, don't be mad at me. All I'm saying is I noticed something and I'm speaking on it. You know what I mean? Just forgive me. The next time we saw Mr. Ayed on a subsequent visit to Tunisia in 2012, he was a senior advisor to Prime Minister Jebali. We traveled to Lebanon after our stop in Tunis, and from Lebanon to Jordan. It was on our flight to Amman that Joe and I discussed whether we should call for the US and our NATO allies to intervene militarily in Libya. The uprising against the regime began in Benghazi and Gaddafi's security forces had cracked down as soon as the first protesters had taken to the streets. 6 demonstrators were killed in Benghazi on the second day of protests. Opposition groups called for, quote, a day of revolt the following day. Police snipers and helicopter gunships had fired into the crowd. Demonstrators marched in cities across eastern Libya and were met with violence. The first protest in Tripoli started on February 20th. By then, hundreds of demonstrators had been killed in Benghazi, but the opposition was now in control of most of the city, and some military units stationed in eastern Libya began changing sides. Prominent Libyan diplomats defected and called on the UN Security Council to impose sanctions on the regime. They will soon be joined by Libya's ambassador to the UN, who had defended the regime for more than a week before breaking with it in an emotional speech. They are asking for their freedom, he said, referring to the protest. They are asking for their rights. They did not throw a single stone and they were killed. I tell my brother, Gaddafi, leave the Libyans alone. Violence was now general everywhere in the country, including the capital. A civil war was underway, rebels were in control and most of eastern Libya, but Gaddafi still held most of the rest of the country. Claiming he had brought glory to Libyans, he refused to relinquish power and threatened a Tiananmen-like response. He called on supporters to attack the cockroaches opposing him. Does that sound familiar, anybody? Fuck Gaddafi, yo. Man, y'all don't even know. I got more, like, I don't hate Trump, I just don't like the motherfucker. I hate what he represents, but I don't hate him personally. He's an opportunistic white boy, you know what I mean? He's who he is, you know what I mean? He can't help himself but be a racist pig, you know what I mean? So, I hate what he represents. But Gaddafi? Nah, dog. That man was an evil ass fucker. That man was my modern day Adolf Hitler from afar. In my same neck of the woods, in my time, namely 80s, 90s, West Africa. Fuck Gaddafi, man. President Barack Hussein Obama, thank you very much for taking that man out. Second, now let me stop. That's the fake whiteness coming out in me. I just had a Kid Rock moment. American gangster, baby. So you know, let me stop. Let me stop, bro. Let me leave that white boy alone, y'all. He called on supporters to attack the cockroaches opposing him and promised to cleanse Libya house by house. Libyan air and naval force power. See, like, I'm hearing somebody's write or say air and naval power like that. Think about FDR. December 7th, 1941, a day which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by the air and naval forces of the Empire of Japan. Yo, Erykah Badu knows how to put on a show like shit, yo. And the people who handle her merchandising and all that, awesome ass folks. What's up, man? I forgot your name, bro, but yeah. Speaking of Erykah Badu, right? Speaking of Erykah Badu, right? Houston Chronicle. This was earlier today, October the 19th of 2018. By the editorial board of the Houston Chronicle, and it says for U.S. Senate, Betty Beto O'Rourke. U.S. Senator Beto O'Rourke, 4.5 stars, Democratic Party. Ted Cruz, Republican Party, 2 stars. Endorsements. The collective swoon that U.S. Senate candidate Beto O'Rourke has aroused among victory-starved Democrats nationwide recalls, even as it far exceeds, the fleeting infatuation that attached itself to another Texas politician not long ago. A Democratic gubernatorial candidate known for her 13-hour filibuster. Oh yeah. What's up, Wendy? How you been? Man, I don't know what she up to. I had almost forgot about her. A Democratic gubernatorial candidate known for her 13-hour filibuster on the floor of the state Senate against stringent anti-abortion legislation, as well as for her watermelon-hued running shoes, she drew the same sort of clamorous attention that O'Rourke is getting this year. As it turns out, of course, the Wendy Davis crush couldn't survive another sort of crush. An ignominious 22-point loss to her 2014 Republican candidate, then Attorney General Greg Abbott. If you live in Houston, if you live in Texas, please go vote. If you live in Texas and you're black or brown and you can vote, please go vote, y'all. Early voting is probably open in plenty places already. You can Google that shit. If you don't want to type that, you can say Google when it's early. You know what I mean? You can do all that. Google Assistant, like they say, let Google do it for you. You know what I mean? Yo, that's what Google should do, yo. Y'all should really have an ad right now, Google, where y'all really got people, just people of color, nobody white, you know what I mean? I'm asking y'all, please do that way. Yes, you know what I mean, Trump is gonna come out and label y'all for fake news and all that, but it's a minority-driven thing because the year that Wendy Davis lost 2014, according to Samantha Bee's numbers, I trust Samantha Bee's numbers, even though she's part of the fake news. You feckless cunt in chief. I digress though. Yes. Her daddy is also a feckless cunt. You know what I mean? Like father, like daughter. But I digress so. Thank you, Sammy. According to Samantha Bee, and I do trust her fake news numbers, only 36% of eligible voters voted in 2014. That's a problem. That is a major ass motherfucking problem, yo. Ain't no way all them votes should be left out there without participating. If you got a job and you have to work that day, like I told that brother at the Home Depot where I bought that flag at today, you see that flag up there? Where I went and I bought it at, right? When I was walking out, I asked him, while he was checking on my bag, he asked me, oh yeah, you got that flag? And I said, yes, I'm working on something. There's a method to my madness with it. You know what I mean? So I asked him, I said, you gonna go vote this year? He gave me the answer that I heard later from them sisters, the one who's celebrating her birthday in a few hours. Like, he told me, maybe. I broke it down to him, I said, come on, dog, you can't do that, maybe. Like, come on, yeah, I can't do that. And before I walked out, after we talked for a little bit, he seemed like he was convinced. I told him that it is a law that you can literally have up to 4 hours, it was, paid for that day to go vote. You can rest you can use sick time or PTOs for the rest of it if he takes you more than 4. It's definitely gonna take you more than 4 hours, you know what I mean? I'm just saying. So I'm just saying, man, if you thinking about it, if you still maybe with it, just go vote, man. Please, man. Like even if it's for just this year, send a message to Trump and see the difference. Just as an experiment, just to see that your vote does count. Just go out and go vote for it. And I cannot tell you who to vote for, but I can tell you don't vote for no Republican candidate for nothing. Read up on the amendments and issues yourself. There's some great amendments that are changing laws. Colorado is finally gonna be a non-slave. It's finally gonna be a free state. Colorado is finally gonna take language out of their constitution that says that slavery is indeed illegal and unconstitutional. And it's 2018, yeah. I'm just saying. So, and they're not the only state that have loopholes like that in their constitutions. But I digress, man. It's just, she should not have lost that election. But people did not go out to vote. And by 2014, the Tea Party movement was established already. Like, that movement, along with the birtherism movement, had already solidified the opportunities that Trump was going to take advantage of on his way to the White House. It's a historical context thing. You know what I mean? You got to pay attention. You got to stay involved. Now they say you got to stay woke, but from my understanding, as somebody who's been living in this nation since 1998, December the 1st of 1998, so somebody who has been here that long, since then, 20 years so far, you know what I mean? I can tell you right now, being woke was something every black person was supposed to have been naturally anyway, regardless. That's got nothing to do with like you can't ain't no if hands him like cut it. You know. But, I digress. So I'm sorry. I can blame it on Trump-related post-traumatic stress disorder. That motherfucker is a problem. But I have a good feeling about the blue chances. The blue wave chance, I have a good feeling about it. I, I'm, I, I'm, I just have a good feeling about it now, man. God don't want deserving people not to suffer longer. A similar fate may await O'Rourke in this still fervid red state, despite the charismatic El Pasoan's attention getting an indefatigable campaign. That's a good word. I love that word, indefatigable. The ubiquitous black and white BETO signs in yards across the state, and an astounding fundraising operation that has raised close to $40 million while eschewing money from political action committees. Impressive, yes, but Lone Star State Democrats have learned not to get starry-eyed during their nearly quarter-century sojourn in the political wilderness. Hey, Texas, that's why I left Texas stuff alone. You know what I mean? I'm not reading no more of Texas stuff. That book is so awesome. You can, like, I haven't even finished it yet, personally. And that was my first time picking it up last year. But all I'm saying is, man, I'm gonna leave Texas because I don't want to inflame too many Trumpites believing white Americans in the United States because I got a feeling that they're gonna take me more serious than the minorities that I'm trying to reach. I ain't gonna lie, you know what I mean? Even up to this point, even though I have a sliver of hope, I have the audacity to have the sliver of hope to believe that yes, my people will actually pay attention, yo. Just, I'm not asking you to do shit, but just pay attention. And paying attention, one of the ways of paying attention is finding that secret in that book. Just open it up, man. Just start with 30 minutes a day. You have 24 hours in a day. Even if you sleep 16 hours a day, I don't know how you do, but even if you do, you still got 30 minutes, man. If you want to start by reading your phone, yes. But sometimes some books are not available in audio form. I'm sure Ashley Montague's Natural Superiority of Women is not available in you know what I mean, or you can find it. I'm just saying, just pick up a book, man. Pick up a book. See? Well, I'm no longer talking to white people about race. This is an awesome ass book. Every book I have is an awesome ass book, but still, you know, I'm just saying, like, I don't wanna. I'm not trying to inflame any white angst. You know what I mean? If I inflame Trumpite to white angst, I'm good with it. That's what I'm trying to inflame probably because they know they were wrong. They know they were wrong for buying into what that man was about. Period. To the pit of misery, dilly dilly. I digress though. With eyes clear but certainly not starry, we enthusiastically endorse Beto O'Rourke for U.S. Senate. The West Texas Congressman's command of issues that matters to this state, his unaffected eloquence, and his eagerness to reach out to all Texans make him one of the most impressive candidates this editorial board has encountered in many years. Despite the long odds he faced, poll-star non-parial Ned Silver gives O'Rourke a 20% chance of winning. A Beto victory will be good for Texas, not only because of his skills, both personal and political, but also because of the manifest inadequacies of the man he would replace. Ted Cruz, a candidate the Chronicle endorsed in 2012, by the way, is the junior senator from Texas in name only. Exhibiting little interest in addressing the needs of his fellow Texans during his 6 years in office, he has kept his eyes on a higher prize. Yo, haven't y'all noticed how fatter Ted Cruz has gotten since Trump became president? Like, when I say capitalist fat cats, haven't y'all noticed that Trump finally just started losing weight? His ass was fat for the 15, 16 months in office till he started seeing some of the writings in the on the wall right now. When he started realizing that Bob Mueller had outfoxed the fuck out of him. You know what I mean? Like, haven't y'all noticed how Ted Cruz is getting fatter and fatter? The true definition of capitalist fat cats. He's been running for president since he took the oath of office, more likely since he picked up his class schedule as a 15-year-old ninth grader at Houston's Second Baptist High School more than 3 decades ago. For Cruz, public office is a private quest. The need of his constituencies are secondary. It was the rookie Cruz riding high after a double-digit win in 2012 who brazenly took the lead in a 2013 federal government shutdown, an exercise in self-aggrandizement that he hoped would lead to the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. People forget how much shit Obama had to deal with, yo. Try to tell y'all, man. Man, people forget, yo. Oh, man. Lest we forget. Lest we forget. Trying to tell y'all, man. I don't hate Trump, I just don't like him for the opportunistic racist that he is. I hate what he represents. Ted Cruz represents the same thing. Man, y'all remember that Philip? Man, y'all remember that? Y'all remember that motherfucker on that floor filibuster that he shutting down that government though. This white boy showed his true whiteness. Like, oh yes, I'm gonna hold this shit up. This nigga ain't gonna accomplish shit. I'm trying to tell ya. Hey, Obama know what I'm talking about. On that level, you know what I mean? It's levels to this shit, yeah. I digress though. It was the rookie Cruz riding high after a double-digit win in 2012 who brazenly took the lead in a 2013 federal government shutdown, an exercise in self-aggrandizement that he hoped would lead to the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. Instead, undercut the economy, cost taxpayers an estimated $2 billion, and inflicted his reading of Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham on an unassumed nation. Maybe the senator succeeded in cementing in his obstructionist Tea Party bona fides, but we don't recall Texans clamoring for such an ill-conceived, self-serving stunt. Cruz's very first vote as senator was a nay on the Disaster Relief Appropriations Bill, a bill authorizing $60 billion for relief agencies working to address the needs of Hurricane Sandy victims. More than a few of Cruz's congressional colleagues reminded him of their vote when he came seeking support for Hurricane Harvey relief efforts. Cruz's Texas cohort, U.S. Senator John Cornyn, was effective in those efforts. The junior senator was not. Voters don't send representatives to Washington to win popularity contests, and yet the bipartisan disdain the Republican incumbent elicits from his colleagues, remarkably in its intensity, deserves noting. His repellent personality hamstrings his ability to do the job. Lucifer in the flesh is how my boy Bane. What's up, man? Lucifer in the flesh is how Republican former House Speaker John Boehner described Cruz, adding, "I get along with almost everyone, but I have never worked with a more miserable son of a bitch in my life." You notice how it's easy, you know, so I'm gonna shut up. Alpha, shut up. Shut that shit up. Lindsey Graham, that motherfucker. Republican senator from South Carolina famously said, "If you kill Ted Cruz on the floor of the Senate and the trial was in the Senate, nobody will convict you." Yo, these are some cold-blooded ass white boys, yo. This is some cold-blooded ass white boys, yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Yeah. These people elected some cold-blooded ass, motherless ass, thinking ass white boys, yo. I ain't gonna lie. He said, if you kill Ted Cruz on the floor of the Senate and the trial was in the Senate, nobody will convict you. Graham, of course, was being facetious, we think, and yet Cruz's off-putting approach works to the detriment of his constituents. His colleagues note that Cruz works for Cruz, first and foremost. Former U.S. Senator Kay Bailey Hutchinson, a Texas Republican who was adept at tending to Texans' needs and who worked tirelessly on the state's behalf, once reminded the Chronicle editorial board that Cruz would have to decide where his loyalties lay when he got to Washington, with fellow Texans or fellow obstructionist ideologues. 6 years later, it's obvious he's decided. Cruz's challenger is running as an unapologetic progressive. He supports comprehensive immigration reform, includes a solution to the Dreamer dilemma, healthcare for all, an end to the war on drugs, including legalizing marijuana, sensible and constitutional gun control, and other issues that place him in the Democratic mainstream this political season. Beto, I gotta ask you though, since I'm asking Texas voters, go vote for the man. Get him in there. All these things right now, all these things are possible. You know it's possible in the grand scheme of American wealth. If Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, and the people at JP Morgan Chase knows that it's possible, you know it's possible, you know what I mean? In the grand scheme of all that, I'm asking the voters, if you go vote for Beto right now, if you go vote for Beto anytime between the next 2 weeks, if you go vote for that man, hold his feet to the fire. I'm sure he will like that. That's how democracy is supposed to work. That's how it was intended to work. That's how it used to work. It worked like that about 60-some years ago, 50-some years ago. Then the capitalist bullet took out Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Then RFK right after. That was it. They had to kill nobody else after that. I'm just saying. That was it. You know what I mean? So, fun times. What sets O'Rourke apart, aside from the remarkable campaign he's running, are policy positions in keeping with a candidate duly aware of the traditionally conservative Texas voter he would be representing in the U.S. Senate. Representing a congressional district that includes Fort Bliss and numerous military retirees, he has focused on improving the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Rightly so. Come on, that's federal. Yo, Republicans try to make the VA look so bad during the Obama administration, yo. They made that thing look so bad, but hey, it was some funny business going on, I guess. So he was the president at that time, so he had to onto it, I guess, you know, context of presidency, right? Department of Veteran Affairs with special attention to mental health. He's a strong believer in free trade and global markets, an economic position that should appeal to pragmatic Houston business interests. As a lifelong border resident, O'Rourke supports our trade ties with Mexico and our need to sustain and encourage those ties, despite the anti-Mexican